Sunrise, one of those people that have so much myth around them that when you finally can meet them face to face, you discover that instead of just a really creative artist, they're also an amazing, strange, and beautiful being. And Sun Ra has, I think, recorded about 20 albums. That's LPs, not singles. But so few people have even heard one cut of his music. Needless to say, he's not a very commercial composer and musician. He's as far out as his music, and his music is really space music. For example, some of his songs and longer compositions have titles like The Magic City, Celestial Fantasy, Next Stop Mars, Calling Planet Earth, We Travel the Spaceways, Cosmic Chaos, Mew, and Atlantis. And that'll give you a vague idea of where his head's at. And to be in his presence is quite an experience. He really is tuned into something beyond our everyday realm of existence. Sun Ra.
I wonder, would you care to even, I know it's unfair because, you're playing music, but would you care to say anything about just sort of thinking behind the idea of intergalactic music?
Well, it's open to something that's actually impossible. And I've reached a stage in music where I want to express the impossible, feeling that the possible isn't, it's not suitable for the world today. Everything is standing still. So then when everything is possible, then try it, and it doesn't work, then you have to try the impossible. So the first thing now, I'm working on a blueprint of the impossible. I do that through music. Then some people can see some impossible things that they might want to do that will have to be done because that's the only way out for this planet now. Impossible things.
Mm.
So looking at it from that point of view, feeling that the truth is just can go so far, and after that you'll have to tap on the myths, which people in ancient days were using myths. They realized that the human family could go just so far with the truth, and then they would have to tap on another source in order to move forward. And after all, that's what a blueprint is anyway. It's a myth. You just draw it out, and it's not a reality. It's like a vision. It is a myth because it's not positive. And therefore, anything that the human race, any race, would like to achieve, they first will have to have their myth and blueprint. So I feel that although a lot of bad things have happened on this planet, I can see a wonderful age ahead for humanity. And well, since that so many prophets have preached doom for the planet, I can see something else. And I'm striving to put it over in the music where other people can see it, which makes the music a little bit more than just music. That's why some people have found it difficult to grasp what I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about is actually impossible. But I feel that the impossible is the next step for humanity, like walking on the moon.
And the critics haven't been very fair with you. They've kept trying to put you into pigeonholes. I mean, we were talking about this before we started. You mentioned that your band has several directions, rather than just having, well, maybe direction is the wrong word. I don't want to cloud up your meaning, but that there are several things that you are into, whereas like a lot of bands are just into one thing.
Well, that's what Father O'Connor said, that people like to pigeonhole people, and they hadn't been able to pigeonhole, classify exactly what I'm doing. But I've been talking about infinity. In fact, I have a large banner that we parade around. We'll say Sun Ra Infinity, which it might seem ridiculous, but infinity and the impossible and immortality on an infinity level rather than a limited level, and everything is wonderful for humanity. That's really what I'm representing and what I'm talking about, which, as I say, it's impossible. But then looking at the condition of the world today, and the world needs something impossible to solve its problems because with all the intellects on the planet, and you have some wonderful intellects on the planet now, and some that have passed through, uh, the world is not supposed to be in the condition it's in unless they neglect to touch upon something that was so simple, they bypassed it.
Yeah. That's a big thing with the myth. There've been a lot of people just recently, just in the last few years, have been getting into the idea of myth, as far as Western man having ignored myth as a vital force. We have our myths, but they're kind of worthless myths, a lot of them, or they haven't been used properly.
Well, I would say they're limited myths, and they have outgrown their usefulness in that way. The Western world couldn't have gotten where it is if it hadn't used some myths. It's just like the world can't move any farther without some more myths, but they have to be very powerful because the world would be dealing with infinity and other galaxies, not just other planets. I'm not talking about just outer space now. I was for the last 15 years, but it's at a point where since humanity has suffered so much and gone through so many things that's dreadful, and it's time for them to go through some things that's entirely different.
Do you feel that the blueprint or myth that you're working on more or less comes from the same place where the music comes from?
I would say so. It comes from something that I wouldn't call it God or anything like that, but it comes from some source that's vital to humanity, and it really cares about humanity. But then it's so simple that people miss the beauty of it, and it has something to do with nature. But all the problems that humanity have now, they like pollution and all that, they brought that on themselves. But all that can be done away with through sound and music, and intellects could get together and really make a beautiful planet, preparatory to going out of space and out into the other galaxies. I know when I made my first record on transition, the notes were supposed. That's one thing that created this the misunderstanding, because the notes were supposed to read on that record preparation for outer space. The A&R man, he thought that was too far for people. But that would have clarified a lot of things. You see, it was preparation for outer space, which was quite suitable, because that's what happened.
Was there any incident or something that really turned you on a few years ago, that a meeting with someone that suddenly sort of got you moving in the particular direction, because where you're at is really unique? And
well, I was always playing this kind of music as far as like on the piano, but and musicians remarked about the strangeness of the chords I was playing. But finally I decided to get a group together to teach them the rhythms. That's been quite difficult, even with the fellows who are playing with me now. Sometimes I reach a point where they can't conceive of it. Like I have a number called Pleiades, and it's very simple. And I play it on the piano. I have a tape recording of it, and it took them about 2 weeks to get the feeling of it, because it all comes down to feeling now as to whether you can communicate with people. So if a musician can't feel what you're really trying to express, well, then you have no connection. You have a language barrier in a sense. But I would say that one time one of those impossible things happened where I really went out in outer space. But I might as well mention it. Possibly that's what made me really be very confident in doing these space things or the things concerning another dimension, because I had this. It wasn't really a vision to me. It was really an actuality where a voice was talking to me about going to another dimension, and expressed that it would be very dangerous. I'd have to have perfect discipline because I would have to go up through a light beam, and if I even stuck out one little finger or any part of me, the atom would be lost in space. So I stepped over into this. It was just like a light beam, and became, I suppose, assimilated with the light, and went to another planet. And on this planet, there were a lot of people in something like a stadium. So I felt that I would stay out of the way or hide in the last row up in the gallery. But they teleported me, I think teleportation, down on the stage where they were. And they talked to me about telling people here something they wanted me to tell them. I told them I wasn't interested. But they insisted. So then I found myself back on this planet, and I was standing on something like an alcove, and a lot of people were milling around with nowhere in particular to go, just like they were looking for something. And I still was standing back behind some curtains, and then these folks just pushed me out on the alcove, and everybody turned around and looked at me. That was some kind of indication of something. But that was an outer space experience. I wrote it down. It was so vivid. But then there's been a disconnection somewhere, uh, as far as music is concerned. In the black world, there's been some kind of disconnection where they don't really have any music, although music that connects or that communicates or that inspires and make one realize values. That's what music is supposed to do. And then that's something I find lacking now as far as black people are concerned. A lack of communication with beauty and nature. Then they're not getting the proper kind of music. Although they might be getting the kind of music they like, but they're not getting the kind they need. Because the kind of music that really brings out the best in a person is the kind that person should really listen to, because it is the person. And so when I see disturbances in the black race, I know what it is. It's a lack of nature's music, because music even soothes the savage beast.
Well, perhaps, do you think part of that's perhaps the problem of the way the city cuts one off from nature? I mean, for instance, many black children in the ghetto never get a chance to really experience an area with lots of trees, an area where nature, runs itself, isn't overrun by concrete and whatnot.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just like a plant needs water and sunshine in order to thrive. If it doesn't, it will wither away. And that's what's happening. It's not a matter of the city. It's something like at one time, even black people in what they called slavery, they had some music that communicated. It was very vital. It was something to do with nature. It was something to do with what you might call the soul of the black race. But then some more people stepped in and they began to commercialize upon the music. And then they gave it back to black people in commercialized form. And results, they developed an artificial black man. Not not really natural, because no music to be natural by, and not really realizing that the music is missing. But like black people in America are practically another kind of order of beings, completely different from, I would say, Africans or Asiatics or even American white people. Just completely different. Something like this third thing I'm talking about. A really remarkable impossibility. And because of that impossibility, not being like any other race upon this planet, they would have to have a type of music that's entirely different from anything upon this planet. And the answer would not be going back to Africa or even integrating into American society or any kind of society, because they have sort of been just made into something else by nature itself. And nature always refuses to be denied. Now, there are a lot of black people who are not doing what they can do, who have all kind of attributes and all kind of talents and all kind of things that to other people would seem impossible. But they haven't stepped forward to do these things, probably because they fear ridicule. People might say they're crazy or something like that. Like I was talking to a friend from Chicago last night, and he said a drummer that we knew and our mutual friend, that they put him in a mental institution in Chicago because he said that he remembered being in his mother's womb. So they put him in the insane asylum, you might say, instead of really investigating. Because although you might have an idea that all men are equal, actually some men have attributes that others don't have. And that probably might be one of the flaws of human society. They like to try to prove that all men are equal, but then nature isn't like that. All men might have something to contribute, but they most certainly are not equal. Sometimes nature chooses some people to have some attributes that others don't have, and this is what humanity needs most of all now. They need to listen to some other kind of attributes, because nature always has something for the good of humanity. The trouble is, they haven't been listening. I remember that name was that Sharon Tate, the one who was in Hollywood. And
oh, the girl
Oh,
who
right,
was
yeah,
butchered.
that was the name, yeah.
And I was reading an interview that the last interview she had. She said that she felt that people were being just used. They're not really responsible for what they do. They can't really control their destiny, just to a certain point.
Just to a certain point?
To a certain point where they can do things, like you want to go out the door, you can go out. But then there comes something else where you have to be a certain place at a certain time, say a certain thing, or meet a certain person, and they'll be there. Like I went to New York the other day, and when I got off the train, a friend of mine, an artist, came right to the coach where I was. But he wasn't he wasn't looking for me. It just something had him down there to meet some children on a train. So he saw me. But things like that happen. Something fixes it up.
Yeah.
Now, in my part, that's been very difficult to me with most black people who really feel that I do have something different, but they probably afraid that it might make them change or might make them be true to themselves, which they would be a very beautiful people if people could see them for what they really are. It would be a different story in America and in the world. But most black people, I would say none of them have really just stood up to the world and said, here I am, I'm me, I have this to offer, and I'm going to offer it whether you like it or not. I have to do this. And if they did that, it would be a different story on this planet. Someone has to be pioneers in moving forward to something better for humanity. And I couldn't think of anyone who could do it better than black people if they start being true to themselves, because you don't have to go to school to do that. Just like I know what I'm supposed to do, and I do it anyway, regardless of what people say, because I have to, because I'm in tune with nature. And all the troubles that's happening on this planet is only because somebody's not in tune with nature. Or if they are in tune, they got the dials turned down so low anybody can hear it. Well, it's something like, well, I was talking to Max Roach about 7 or 8 years ago, and he said that I got my music in code. So I asked him, I said, well, how could that be possible? He said, well, yeah, it's in code. And when you hear it, you don't hear it because you got it in code. And so in thinking about that, he might be right. I think if I really wanted people to hear the music, they could hear it. But that's that third thing out there again, the impossible. How's it possible for people not to hear music and listening at the same time? But it all has something to do with vibrations, because like if I put on one of my records in the morning, I can hear something that I won't hear at night. And if I play it with a red light instead of a blue light, which every time I change the light, the record changes, which makes it a sort of living thing. It's just like someone was telling me about, he was talking to a religious person in New York, and this person said, well, it's something else in that music besides just outer space. And he asked him, well, so what is? He said, well, I don't know what it is, but there's something in there that people should listen for.
Classical music, but I try to give people other music, because music works the same way. People should be open to lots of different music. You may not always be in the mood for one kind of music or another, but you should be open to it and able to listen to it. And people don't. Sometimes they get some very violent reactions from putting something different on the air. They'll say, how can you play that stuff?
Well, America used to, at one time it wasn't like that. It was where people would listen to things and have a place for something different. And of course it's got to get back like that, because it still is ahead of the world. It's at a point where the world needs America to do something else that it hasn't done, some impossible things. America achieved being the richest country in the world, which when you achieve one thing, the way is always open for another thing. And they really could do it, but it's whether they have the imagination enough and the sincerity enough to want a better world. then they can do what the black man didn't do. One time the black man had the same chance. It's up the tip top of civilization of the world. And there came a time when they had a choice and they didn't make the right one. The white race is at that point now. They got a choice. They move forward to greater things than ever been done on this planet. Or else they follow the will of the rest of civilization that came up, and then they died down. But America doesn't have to do that, despite the prophets of doom, despite the Bible itself, despite anything. There's always a better way.
But yet, doesn't that tie in with this feeling of, well, you're saying like things occurring, we're meeting someone at a particular time, and things like this which seem to sort of move us along, and you wonder if these same patterns, forces, whatever to call them, aren't sort of moving the whole thing.
Well, the way the equations are fixed up this planet, it's very serious and very dangerous, and in a sense ridiculous to even state such things. But there's a place in the Bible, which people call a good book, saying that a friend to the world is an enemy of God.
Yeah. Wow.
And people, that's an equation. Now, a lot of people who come up and try to help the world have been friends of God. At least they say they have been. Well, they didn't fit the equation, because the equation doesn't say that. It says, friend to the world is an enemy of God. So if anybody ever helps this planet, if anyone, a friend to the world would have to be an enemy of God, which is hard for humanity to grasp. But
yet it would have to be also in tune with nature, yes? Which is,
it would be in tune. It's just a matter, like all these things that humanity has been going through, it has been fixed up. So God would just fix him an enemy up to help humanity. I mean, not really a real enemy, but just in the name of it, just to make the book come true.
Yeah. Of course, that the feeling that God, or what that portion of the unknowable that ends up being called God, or thought of as God, is in all of nature. And even look at how the Bible made it. God made the planets. So the planets and their thing, or the trees and their thing, is not God necessarily.
Well, I actually don't feel that people have been made yet. See, that word "made" refers to initiation. They haven't been initiated over into the higher order of what I would say. Next step after human beings is angels. So I would just say that it would be very nice for a few people to be initiated into the order of angels. At least if they got a deputy dog, you could have some deputy angels till they get used to the idea of being angels. And as angels, they could do a lot of things that a man can't do. Man is limited, according to the book. I don't really call myself man. I was talking to a minister the other day, and I told him, he said something about, well, no man can do that. I said, but I'm not man. I said, because your good book said man is filthy and abominable. I'm not filthy and abominable. He said, yes, you are. I said, no, I'm not. But I see, it's not a matter I don't believe the book. In fact, when I see so many people sinking down to trying to be filthy and abominable, when I see a lot of teenagers who are sinking down to that, it's because they're trying to be man. And that's the destiny of man. Like if you go on a skid row, you can see it out there, filthy and abominable. So I would say that book is working just like a charm. And I was reading an etymology, an English etymology, and it said the word gospel came from God's spell. So that's a charm or something. God's spell, and they just cut it short, said gospel. But you see, that has something to do with the root of words. Now, that's what I studied that also. I was always interested in where did words come from, and what was their original meaning, and what was basically the first word, or what sounds were that you could branch out and get the whole thing. Because someone confused the languages, so they must have used. They said God did it, that He confused the languages. So He must have used some kind of code to do it. So if the nations could find out the code that God used to confuse the languages, then they might communicate with one another. I was talking to a woman the other day. She was Jehovah's Witness, and she said, she was saying that Satan tempted Adam and Eve. I said, no, he didn't. She said, yes, I said, no, he didn't. I said, not according to your book. Now, he might have tempted Eve, woman. I said, that's what the book says. Really, when you get down to it, like a law thing, it wouldn't stand up in court that just Eve was tempted. I said, so the woman did wrong first. I said, and then the woman supposedly led man wrong. I said, now, in order to make the world a better place, all you women have to do is to do something right, and the man will follow you. So I said, you got tempted once. You have to be tempted to do something good. But I said, basically speaking, if you went to the courts of the land and you had a case against Satan that he tempted, and then they read the Bible and you couldn't find it where he didn't tempt Adam. I said, you might say get a case against Eve, but not against. I said, so these people on this planet have to start telling the truth. Whatever it is about Satan, tell the truth about it. I said, and then it was talking about that he said they could live forever. I said, I noticed God put an angel at the tree of life to keep Adam and Eve from getting to it, because he said it would live forever if they got to the tree. I said, so it was something going on there, that some truth was told. But I said, so that really made God the enemy, because he's the one who got the angel with a double-edged sword to keep him from getting to that tree. I said, but you're teaching something else. So then you either need to change your books around, you're going to have to be more scientific, because you're teaching people things that confusing their minds. And it might be good to sell books, to have churches and all that, but now you're really going to have to deal with the truth.
And it's like the sort of an idea that God is completely infallible and good, whereas like most religions, certainly those that are close to nature, don't say that. They say God is strong.
Well,
but God does some bad things and he does some good things. And this perhaps is a case of God doing something that was a little high-handed.
Well, I noticed that on all the contracts, acts of God, did nothing good.
Right.
The contracts,
hurricanes, tornadoes.
That's right. Acts of God. Now they don't call that acts of Satan or the dead. They say acts of God, and then you don't get any money because of an act of God. And it's the same way like someone in Florida got hurt by stepping out on a manhole at the storm, uncovered the manhole. So he's going to sue the city, and they told him it was act of God because he brought the storm and knocked the man top of the manhole. So he sued God, but they wouldn't give him any money. But I said, that's beautiful, humanity. People are waking up.
Right.
I read about another woman sued God. Do you remember that incident?
Something happened at a ranch or
The
something.
lightning struck her ranch. And she said, she put the case in court that God in a negligent manner struck her. But he struck her ranch, and so I don't know if she got any money or not. But that's two cases where two people almost woke up. It's beautiful. I said, that's two most beautiful things I've heard. That actually, like, looks all the whole picture looks very simple to me. Like people are talking about dope addicts, and I said, well, I know about people with dope addicts. It's really no problem. I said, read over in that so-called good book. It's got in there where God is saying, I have drugged my people. So then they dope at it because God drugged them. It's in the book. Of course, people they probably don't want to see that. I said, and then it's got another place now. It says, I have killed my people. And you see all the people getting killed? Well, they say he did it. So then they say they believe the Bible. But then they really don't. He's actually following it down like a scenario. It's not a matter that the God of the planet would be like that. But people keep on saying they believe it and it's the truth. So if you set a book up as a truth, then he just makes it, it's just like a producer of a play. He comes up, he gets the actors, and he puts a play on. And that's what this is, it's a play. But even the so-called crucifixion of Christ, they call it the Passion Play. So it's somebody just making fun of humanity. Because they're not using their intelligence. You see, if they use their intelligence, they could get out of this.
Do you think the crucifixion of Christ works in as a sort of laying a guilt thing on us, works in with this thing about God laying some bad trips on us? But Christ, by allowing himself to be crucified, or and then there's this guilt thing that Christ died for you and so on.
Well, he took he died for the ungodly and the unrighteous. He didn't die for the righteous. So that's what the righteous have such a hard time. And I notice in America they always say Christ died to save the ungodly.
He died for your sins.
He died to save the ungodly. So say a person don't have any sins, they don't get saved. According to that doctrine, you see. So it's the way. It's the way they got things fixed up. Now, if they get another kind of doctrine and apply it and people be sincere, this planet would be like a paradise. But it would be hard to get people to drop their favorite beliefs because they'd rather suffer and die for their beliefs than to turn around and say, well, I'm going to try something else. Because most people are cowards, They're cowards when it comes to facing the third thing. But now they'll face the worst that life has to give them, and they'll say, I'm going to make it. And they'll turn around, they'll face death, and they say, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it to heaven. They still say they're going to make it. But you bring the third thing up, and then they say, well, I don't know. I showed a friend from Chicago something I wrote the other day, last night. I forget what it was about. It was about hell. And he read it, he said, I don't know about that. But it shook him up because I was saying that the people were in held, H-E-L-D, that they are held in a state of captivity. That it's not like when people speak of death, people in captivity. But I look at it at that point, that they just been kidnapped or snatched, and then to really, the whole thing, speaking of death, it's just something to put up there to fool folks. And life is something to fool people too. But the real reality is what's being hidden from people. Often my music touches upon this real reality. And by them not knowing anything about it, it probably might shake them up a little. But everything I'm doing is really for the good of humanity, which is quite a job. Since they said friend of the world is the enemy of God, it makes it kind of difficult.
Yeah. How is it possible for one to get plugged into the third thing?
Well, you have to deal with as I say, the confusion of languages. Definitely there has been a confusion of languages, and God supposedly did that. The keys to the languages and the root of words to put things back into place. Like the Bible, it's a jigsaw puzzle. You put everything back in place the way it was at first, and you got the whole story. Then people would begin to be In other words, people are nothing but jigsaw puzzles now. They're all right. I mean, the worst person is just a jigsaw puzzle where somebody put a piece over somewhere it doesn't belong. It looks like it belongs there, but when you look at it, it's all jigsaw. It doesn't make sense because some of the pieces are cut just alike, and you have to be able to put it over in the right place, and you see the whole picture. But you have to know what the picture was at first, anyway. Then when you put it there, you will know by intuition. Well, yeah, that's it. Because my mind refuses to believe there are any bad people now, even though a lot of people have tried to do things to me, talked about me so bad, but I really don't have any animosity towards humanity. They have my sympathy. They've done a good job in ignorance to be as far as they are. I have to compliment them.
Wow.
Yeah, this place in Philadelphia, I thought I would have more time to do things, but then a lot of people that I thought I might be rid of, they didn't let me get rid of them. See, so they it's like Bob Northern. He plays with the sometimes he plays with the New York Philharmonic and the Rockettes and all that. He called up. He's coming all the way to Philadelphia rehearsal because he found something over in the music that he didn't find in the classics and all those things. And he's one of the world's greatest French horns. But he found something over in this music. He doesn't know what it is. You see, like, say for instance that we rehearse every day, and somebody misses a rehearsal. Now, like we rehearse Monday, somebody misses Tuesday rehearsal. Now, when they come that Wednesday, they can't get in there with the band. They missed a day, and they have great difficulty. It'll take them about 2 days to catch up with us. I mean, just phrasing with us. You see, that's where it comes, that oneness. And because I'm always changing. See, if I just kept the same style, it'd be a different story, but I'm changing. So when they come, if they miss Tuesday and I've said some particular things and they didn't hear that, they can't play it. Because quite often I have to stop and lecture to the band, talk impossible things. Things which a lot of musicians would just close their ears to. But then when they close their ears to it, they couldn't play the music. I got one number called Shadow World that is very difficult. Nothing but quarter notes and eighth notes. But musicians find great difficulty because of the fact that it's saying something else. It's really saying that this whole world here is nothing but shadows and images. That's what it is. It's not a reality. And people are coming to the point now where they're going to be the reality. Like I mentioned, it's that they would be made. By that I mean initiated, because in secret orders, the word "made" means initiate. So I feel that humanity is right at the threshold of being initiated into the mysteries of the greater universes. I feel that's that instinct and that third thing, saying that the darkest hour is just before dawn, and it's very dark for humanity now. They don't look like, a lot of people in high government circles don't feel that civilization is going to make it. You can't find any politicians that would really give you a ray of hope and really mean it. They really think the whole thing is going to fall in, and the religionists think so too. That's all they preach. It's doom. But I don't feel that way. This third thing says something else is going to happen. It's totally unexpected, very beautiful, and quite suitable to get this planet in tune with the greater universe.
Is it happening now?
Well, before it could
starting
really
to
happen, someone have to have a desire for it to happen. No one on this planet has had that desire. Like I was telling some Jehovah's Witnesses, I said, why don't you pray to God to give people eternal life? They said, can't do that. I said, why not? Why don't you pray to him to get rid of undertakers and cemeteries and all? They said, well, it's not allowed. But I do think if people are going to pray...
Who didn't allow it, though?
They say he didn't. God, you know, like, 'cause he's the boss, and you can't do that. I said, but I feel that the reason this planet is in such a bad condition because people are not praying for the right things. They might pray for some money, a success in love, a house or something, but they haven't really just prayed for humanity at large to really be part of a better world, because unfortunately most of the churches are talking about only the righteous people going to heaven. But I know a few bad people that I like. And they're very kind at heart, and they've done some good things. So I wouldn't say that if people are going to live, if there's going to be life for some people, it really wouldn't be fair to cut off the bad people, because I notice death doesn't cut out good people. It doesn't cut out bad. It takes everybody. So anything that's greater than that would also have to do that.
But
It would be quite wrong to just save all the good people and not give the bad ones a chance. Bad people are quite interesting sometimes. They have a
Good
lot of
people are-
imagination.
Good people are quite bad sometimes. too.
Right, and then they try to hide it.
Yeah. Because they're supposed to be good.
But like, see, just like in the name of Sun Ra, well, I can say that about good people and bad people. Since it said the sun shine on all alike, just and unjust. I suppose that's bad and the good. And that's very good, I can say that. Because it has to be an equation. Everybody possibly couldn't say that. You have to be in a particular vibrational point in order for something to happen. Else it's futility, like the whole thing has been up to this point.
Don't you think there's a conscience, which I suppose is maybe similar or the same thing as what one refers to as karma, a conscience which is separate from any sort of socially, taught environmental or anything like that, that, where one has a sense of if you hurt people, you hurt yourself or something like this. I mean, something that's built into each human being.
Yeah, I've heard that. And it's possibly true, but
You don't
it's just
feel
like
it in
George
your
Gershwin said,
Mm.
it ain't necessarily so. That everything that is happening does not really have to happen. People have to reach that point. That even in man's government, sometimes people do something bad, and they have mercy on them, you might say. But they can't seem to think of a creator universe as being better than man. But they think everybody has to be punished. But personally, I think people have been punished enough just by being around each other. That's enough. That's enough punishment.
But one question, I don't know if I can understand it, but how is the third thing different than God?
There's a book called O Ospi that says that God is the executor, he's the caretaker of this planet, but the creator is
I see.
owns the universe.
Yeah.
So it's a difference between God and
Whose book did you say?
O Ospi.
That sounds similar to, to some writings of Gurdjieff. Do you know who he is? The Russian
Yeah, I read
mystic?
him, but this
Is
this
it similar?
book-
Or
no, this
not
is
really?
really supposed to be another Bible for the West. I think it was published in 1800 and something. But it's advertised like this bookstore in Carnegie Hall up around that. I got the catalog from there. I don't have the book myself, but I did have it when I was in Chicago.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
That's
great.
too much. Are you going to do any Do you think you'll publish any writings or anything like this? Do you have
Well-
any intention?
Well, it's very. I'm thinking
Oh.
about. I think I should, although I'm hesitant because some of the things I'm talking about are. Well, it's very involved. For instance, like one piece I was writing, a friend was typing it out for me. I was saying that the Earth is a hole in space. You see, that's the equation I have, that the Earth is a hole in space. But then you got hole spelled HOLE and WHOLE. So I'm dealing with these phonetics where the whole key to the whole thing is it's all in phonetics. And I've touched upon these things, and then this third thing would bring some kind of event up to show me, yes, that's right. That's right what you're doing. Like I told a fellow that was a Jehovah's Witness, I was in Milwaukee, I think. And he was coming around, he said he was coming around at night to talk to me and bring his wife around. He did come around himself, and he was talking to me. I told him about one of the things that was bad is people keep on seeking life, not really realizing what life is. And that is, first place is forbidden because you got angel at the tree with a double-edged sword. And you try to get too close, it gets whacked. I say, you see, that's one thing. People have to stop doing that, but then they don't know any better. I said, and then the life has been made very bad on this planet. I said, now, how would you feel if a judge sat on the bench and gave you life? He said, oh, but that's ridiculous. That's too simple. It's not like, I said, yes, it is like that. So I didn't say I left Milwaukee and went back to Chicago. And then someone called me up and told me that he got over into something, he got life. Then he sent for his Bible. But I told him that, you see, that the judges sit on that bench and give people life every day. But it's so ridiculous to think that could really happen. But it is happening. These people taking vows for things, and something is watching them and keeping books on them and giving them what they say they want. Like, for instance, like I always have said I want to go out in outer space, and just for myself at first, but now I'm thinking about taking some people with me because there's too many people on this planet anyway. Of course, it's ridiculous to even say, well, how are you going to get them off? But it has to be some way to get them off. They got here. They can get off too. Else we could take the planet and make a spaceship. It's a spaceship anyway. And just take the motivating powers or whatever it is instead of just a rocket. Take everybody to the moon. Let's take the whole planet up there. Let everybody see it. I think it would be fair to the people than spending all that money for rocket ships. Just take the Earth is already a ship. Just get the powers that it takes, put a motor on it, son. Take everybody to the moon.
That's pretty wild.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's a perfect spaceship.
Like when you're writing or when thoughts are coming to you, do you consciously put yourself into any particular sort of state of mind to be more receptive to things?
Well, see, I'm very sensitive to people. For instance, like if I'm writing something for a trumpet player, and then I write that for him, and another trumpet man come in, that changed my whole thing.
Wow.
Even if he isn't going to play anything, I change because
Wow,
I'm
it's
sensitive to
just like a
everything.
character,
Vibration.
just like a character in a play almost. Then.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
going by vibrations. For instance, if I didn't see that person, I would feel that person in there. For instance, if I write this composition, and then the people in the room are not, when I go out and play a concert, and then some people came to the rehearsals, and then not at the concert, the song's not going to sound right. These people that at the rehearsal have to be there at the concert too, because I have them over in the song too. I got their vibrations over in there, and the feeling of them being there.
How much of it comes from improvisation with other members of the group? Or
Sometimes on some numbers, like we got a number called When Sun Comes Out, what I did in that now, I gave them the impression that I wanted them to play. You know, I just played.
Yeah.
I told the bass what I wanted the drum. That's very important, the rhythmic thing. I told them what I wanted, so they played that. Then I played on the piano. I kept on playing that until they got the impression. Now that number comes up to what I really consider as the acme of improvisation. Because there's one place in there where it sounds just like a sunburst. Everybody just comes in there all at once, and they're doing it naturally. Because since man has walked on the moon, I had to get my intergalactic stuff together. Can't let well, most of the governments of the world are sort of mechanical in a sense, artificial. So I can't deal with that. So they got the space thing, but I'm talking about communication now with galaxies. We need that. Is make all the teenagers be good, because they would really be have something to think about. Think about which galaxy they want to go to. I know that would solve the whole problem. It's just that they sort of bored, you know. They're bored with the traditional things, and when humans get bored, they don't know anything else to do but fight each other.
Yeah.
But
So it's down to that simple thing. They're just bored.
Don't you think there's a lot of things on our planet that might interest them? No.
Yeah, but you got so many thoughts on the planet that's predicting doom, and these thoughts are flying around in the air. It makes it very oppressive.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's one of the things that the people are trying to do now. They're trying to counteract that by thinking other things other than doom. Trying to think joy.
Yeah.
You know, and believing in it. Well, it's like you were saying, you know, people can put so much energy into being bad, and good people can't quite seem to put as much energy into being good. But maybe that's what some people are trying to do now. I mean, really put the energy out, because a prophet of doom is going to have his doom because he's got himself whipped up to it, and maybe probably have a lot of other people whipped up into believing it.
Right. But it seemingly has been up to this point easier to get people to believe they're doomed than it would be to say, well, you know, the creator of the universe really wants you to branch out and see the universe so that you can see there is a creator. Because the way it is, they have to go on faith. So they have to have something that wouldn't really have to be based on faith so much. But then it's very difficult for human beings. For instance, like if I had to come up and tell them I'm good and holy and righteous, all of them would say that have faith in me that I'm good and holy and righteous. And then how many would I find? But on the other hand, so I tried another approach and said, well, I'm evil and wicked. And then they said, no, you aren't. Even the minister, I told him I was evil and wicked. He said, no, you aren't. He just met me. But so humans just don't want to believe anything, dude.
Wow.
So the next thing I'm going to do is to put some of these things over in the music about this third thing, this happiness. You see, that's what the world needs. They need an image and blueprint of happiness, because they don't know how to be happy. They've forgotten how to do that, and so they need to have the blueprint. So I approach it from a scientific point of view, because people have gotten over into this artificial computer thing where they just have to be just like puppets or something. Just turn them out like mass production or something. So they've gotten used to that. A lot of people are rebelling, but what good is it unless they have a blueprint for something better? the blueprint of happiness would give people something to look forward to. They got the blueprint of doom. So now they need, like I told a friend of mine, that they have the good book, so they need a better book. They graduate, you see. Because I think humanity has suffered so much until I'm tired of it. I know everything in the universe has got any kind of intellectual spirituality about us, tired of seeing humans suffer because it's boring. I want to see them do something else.